You are listening to Spilling the Tea, a real estate podcast with Kristy Massero and Shelagh Maycheck.
Hello everyone, welcome to season 2 of Spilling the Tea. We are your hosts, Kristy Massero and Shelagh Maycheck.
Hello.
Today we're having with us the ever so Prince Charming realtor, Matt Rufh, and our everyday man representing the general public, but he's anything but general, Jeremy Pue.
Hello. Hello.
So, on today's episode, it's all about people who unexpectedly enter other people's houses. You can see how it happens, right? Maybe your keys are with the realtor. There are showings that get missed. Maybe you get accidentally booked. Maybe you get accidentally canceled. That plus getting all the kids out the door in the morning and getting to work, and it can be so busy and wires can get crossed. There's so many pieces of the pie when it goes to booking a showing and making sure that all these parties coordinate to get out of the house. Maybe showings come late. Maybe they come in way after their expected time when you're already home in your pajamas, sporting a matcha clay face mask that can only be described as the Wicked Witch of the West. Am I painting a word picture for you?
Very well, yes.
Very painted.
Yeah? You know what this looks like?
Yeah, I've seen that one a time or two.
Yeah. Scary. In the mirror, right?
Or they're not even expecting the showing and you open the door and it's like the Home Alone scene.
Oh.
You know, like,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
totally.
So
yeah.
it's happened.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. I love it. Before we dive into all that fun stuff, we're going to go to Shelagh the way we always do. And we kick it off with a couple questions for her.
Okay.
Shelagh, have you ever accidentally walked into a listing for a showing and had someone home who was not expecting you?
No, but I've had something equally unnerving happen to me. I had a showing booked, entered the home, and all the lights are off. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. They didn't have it ready for us. I'll turn on all the lights. As I'm turning the lights on, I hear this like growling and barking. And these two dogs come up to us. I'm like, oh, shoot, that really sucks that the agent didn't warn us that there were dogs in the home. It would have been good to know, whatever. And I'm like, they're pretty friendly. They're ankle biters. They're small. And I'm turning more of the lights on. And then the smell hits me. And I realize there's like, you know, the dog pee pads. They're lining the entire stairway up and down the home, all over the floor, and they're dirty. Like there is
poor dogs.
dog pee everywhere and dog poop. And I'm like, well, this is really strange.
And sad.
And sad. I kind of felt bad for the dogs. So I'm like, how long have you been alone in here in the dark? And so as we're going through, we didn't want to stay too long, but as we're wrapping up, I'm like, you know, as a courtesy, I'll just call the agent in case someone's coming behind me to let them know, hey, you might want to give them a heads up about the loose dogs and the dog poop. And I call them and I go, hey, I'm just going to be locking up here. I wanted to let you know about the condition of the home. I'm leaving it how it is. I didn't want to touch anything. And they go, what home are you in? And I read off the address. And then there's a pause on the other end. They're like going, oh, no. And I'm like, what's oh, no? She's like, I confirmed you for the wrong property.
Oh.
And I'm like, so do the sellers know I'm in their house right now? And she says, no, they do not. I said, great, I'm locking up right now. We're done. So that was really awful because I'm like, what if someone had come home while I was in their house?
Yeah.
And they weren't expecting me. Their house was not ready. Their pets were loose and there was poop everywhere. So that was a great time.
Do you ever hear about that on the internet, on the Facebook?
On the internet.
I'm 100. But do you ever see those stories where like agents get called, like the police on them because they're going into houses and the neighbors either think like, oh, that's suspicious, or people are like, oh, there's someone in my house, or
I don't recognize that car and I know they're away.
Yeah, what are these people doing? Looking in the windows, opening up the door, you know, and they don't necessarily know that the home is for sale. Like that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I've heard of that, but I think what people what I do in my practice is I'll walk around with at least a piece of paper and a nice shirt with a collar, so people can at least establish that okay, there's a for sale sign in the front yard, looks like an agent.
So
right?
no crowbar and balaclava.
Nothing.
He shows
like
up in his
street clothes.
Tesla, and people are like, "He's a realtor."
But
He's
some
a realtor.
clients though, they want you to dress like they want you to dress like them, and some of them dress down, and they're okay with that. And it's like you want to, but that also gets you out of trouble in that situation.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's
Dress it
establishing agency even in a visual perspective to
exactly.
avoid that. Sheila, one more question for you. Have you ever had a listing where someone has shown it when they were not supposed to be there?
Yeah, it was quite unnerving. There was someone who it was way past their showing time. I'd called them. They didn't pick up. I'm like, okay, they're not coming. And eventually I told my sellers, I'm like, you know what, just go home. We'll ask them to rebook. Of course, the second my sellers get home, I get a call from the person going, hey, yeah, I'm here now. I'm ready to go in for my showing. I'm like, no, the sellers are home. The dogs are out of the crates. Like, just rebook. He goes, no, I'm here. I drove all this way. I'm ready. I'll just go knock on their door and ask. And so I can come in. I'm like, no, do not knock on their door. They're home now. They're done showings for the day. He goes, no, I'm just gonna go ask them. I'll just go in. And I'm like, do not knock on the door. Do not go in. And then the next thing I hear is a call from our sellers going, this guy just tried to open our front door.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh my God, I'll deal with that. Don't let him in. Don't let him in your house. Just lock the door and we'll deal with it. And
I was
Kristy.
away.
Yeah.
And I get this call from the senior agent that I had put like kind of in charge while I was gone, just for there to be a little bit more firepower behind the desk. So it's really common for team leaders to have other additional team lead agents like kind of ready to go in the event that there's something that needs a little bit more aggressiveness, for lack of a better term, so that your team can keep functioning and that person kind of can shield, basically. So in this case, there was a well-seasoned agent named Stefan, and he called me and he said, hey, I just got a call from Sheila. There's no way that she's wrong. If she said that they shouldn't have been there, they shouldn't have been there. So I ended up phoning this agent, and for anybody who knows me, they know I am so nice until I'm not. I'm bamboo. I flex until I frickin' snap. So I ended up calling this guy, and I was like, oh, hey, you went into our listing. And he's like, no, I didn't. I was in the front yard. I said, oh, okay. I said, so, and I completely bluffed because I had no record of this, but I said, oh, okay. So I said, the lockbox logs showed that you took the key out of the lockbox. If you took the key out of the lockbox and you had no intention of going in the house, why'd you take the key out? And he goes, what do I need to do to make this better?
Oh.
Wrong answer.
No.
He ended up writing a very, very big apology letter to the sellers so that they did not push a complaint.
Right.
And that was good enough. Like, my clients were good enough with that, but it was a little stressful for Sheila.
I was
obviously.
like brand new-ish into real estate. I didn't have a license. So I was like, I'm the assistant just coordinating things while you're away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's the kind of like invasion that can happen. And it's like, it's agents who think like, oh no, like I'm going to go in, I'm doing my job. Like I'm serving my clients, I'm serving my community. That's their, in a lot of cultures, that's what they do. Right. And, and meanwhile, Sheila's like, no, my clients are home. No, I'm not trying to be like nice. I'm trying to be like, no, do not go into the house.
But say it nicely, because I'm like, customer service.
Yeah.
2 hours
Please
late.
don't go in.
I wouldn't call to let you know I'm going to be late, but I'm still going to show up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. And and then there was like the dogs on top of that. So there's no way the dogs would have gone crazy unless someone was trying to open up the door.
Yeah.
And pets stress out at the best of times, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, absolutely. So so that's kind of the way it goes. So I've heard stories of this happening where people go into homes where they shouldn't. My favorite story is a realtor that was in the bathtub. And there was a showing on her house, and she didn't know that there was a showing. So this is like happens to you in your industry. You are in the bathtub, and like you hear the
Relaxing.
just like glass of wine, candles lit, and
vulnerable.
Like are you selling? I do not come with the house. Like it's just one of those things where she was just like, oh my God, and the realtor was so mortified, and it was just a matter of like wires getting crossed. But that's somebody when they're in their most exposed. I don't know how many bubbles there were. It was like a whole thing.
yeah.
I'm painting again, more word pictures.
Keep painting. Paint the picture.
Yeah. What did it know?
Yeah, Kristy Picasso.
Yeah.
There's Kenny G playing in the background.
Yeah, it was bad. So it's a huge miscommunication and a huge invasion of privacy. So she was a realtor, so she was better to understand like, okay, these things happen. But could you imagine if that was like your mom, your grandma?
Totally.
Yeah, I'd be floored.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so bad. So that's what it's about. You get multiple people involved in these things, realtors, realtor teams, homeowners, multiple homeowners, tenants. Some things don't always go as planned. And it's basically a communication breakdown because there are humans involved. That's what happens. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we always tell our sellers there are agents that show up at the door. And we warn them. We say this: if this ever happens to you, you deal with it. And we give them exactly how they're going to deal with it. So if you are a realtor, listen up. We have realtors in certain areas of the Lower Mainland that show up. They knock on the door and they say, oh, we had a showing. And their clients are on the doorstep. And the seller opens the door and is like, oh. Now, of course, the seller wants her home sold. They think maybe they missed a showing. Maybe the agent made a mistake. Maybe they made a mistake. And then suddenly they're letting them in during dinner time and like nothing's clean. Mm-hmm. And like they're like power calling their realtor like, oh my God, there's a showing that apparently confirmed and they're in the house. And like, so I always tell my clients, what a safety issue, number one. Like you guys know I'm a care bearer with safety. Mm-hmm. We tell everyone that's selling, if somebody shows up on your doorstep and they say they have a showing and you do not directly hear from us that there is a showing, you let us know, but take their card first. So you take that realtor's business card and then tell them, I'm sorry, I cannot let you in. I do not have a showing confirmed. And you shut the door. Mm-hmm. And then let me deal with it.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who show up pretending like they have a showing confirmed and they don't.
I don't want to make the effort to send anything. I'm here right now. It's listed.
And it just
Let's just see.
Looks good in front of the client. Like, oh,
I'm
I'll
a
get
hustler.
you. Yeah, I'm a hustler. I'll get you in. And like,
Yeah.
it's just bad. All day bad.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's not what you want. You don't want to have like strangers surprise you at the door. No, thank you.
No.
So we're going to go to Jeremy first before we get into Matt's like crazy tale. Because his go kind of in a little bit of a different direction. But Jeremy, like, imagine your house is for sale. Yep. Kids are home, wife, dog.
Rupert.
That's the dog, not the wife.
But wait, who's your listing agent?
To be determined.
Good answer.
I'm gonna run a gauntlet for.
Good answer.
There's going to be a charity boxing match.
Yeah.
Have to something.
That's a great idea.
Hey, before you jump into that question, I want to add something because identity theft is such a huge thing right now. And what we encountered like through our little circle was people, the scammers that are grabbing like, say, your ID, they're looking on the MLS and they're looking at vacant properties and using those addresses for your new location to steal your ID and get mail sent there, which is crazy because think of a vacant house for sale. We see them all the time. There's no stuff in the house. You can tell it's vacant just by looking on the MLS. And then they go into a bank and they request, your new credit card and your name. And then they say our address is this address. And then it gets mailed there. No one's checking the mail because it's vacant. So it's just one other thing to kind of be cognizant of is like that has happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Crafty.
Very crafty.
Could you imagine if criminals put their minds like actual
That's the
legitimate
thing,
work?
right?
They're like
Actual
they're
business?
brilliant.
That is
Yeah.
the thing.
Seriously.
It's crazy. But
Criminals are brilliant. They just don't do it honest.
Yeah.
yeah, but I've listed vacant homes all the time.
Yeah.
Who's to say someone's not walking by at 11 o'clock at night and just going to the mailbox? I never check the mailbox. I don't always check it, but I do check it
Because
sometimes.
there's some homes that still get like home delivery.
Yeah.
Like in the little mailbox that's just loosey-goosey on the front door.
Or the flyers are sitting there. You
Yeah.
grab the flyers, you bring them in or whatever.
Gee, there's 10 newspapers out front.
Oh.
I wonder if anyone's there.
But yeah, some food for thought though, because that has happened.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Okay.
Could be a segue to something else, but
It's still
No,
so
it's
good.
good.
It's so good. Well, we're gonna get into fraudulent things
because
in
I got a
moment.
good story.
You
Yeah.
got a good story. Jeremy, you're in the house with Rupert, your dog, your wife, your kids.
Yep.
Your house is for sale. A key is inserted in your door. You hear some rattling. Someone is trying to get into your house. Your key was outside in a lockbox, and the door opens. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? What are you doing? Can you picture that feeling? Picture that feeling. Feel that feeling?
Yeah. So I think I would be like heart pounding. Initially, my gut would probably go to like my schedule is crazy. So initially my gut would probably go to like, I missed this.
Ah, okay.
In the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I would go first. But if it wasn't in there or on whatever schedule my listing agent is like, hey, there's a showing coming. If I didn't have anything, then I'd be going for the 9-iron probably.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Like-
Because it's so invasive.
Totally.
It's crazy to have your house listed in the first place and have people come in and show it
Mhm.
and you're not there. But then to be there and have your door open.
Yeah. Would not be cool. And I think like I have 3 kids, so I never used to think of myself as somebody that would react like certain ways in certain situations, but having kids can totally change that.
Yeah. of
Fight or
course.
flight.
So, 100%.
Yeah.
So I think if my door just opened and I was like, hey, no one's supposed to be here, I would just go into totally
Fight mode.
protective mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So that's what goes. So realtors who are opening these doors, or they think they have a showing, or a miscommunication happens. Like that's the feeling that they put into people when they're doing that. Sometimes completely honestly, like most of the time, completely honestly.
Yeah.
But it's scary because imagine being at home in your bathtub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the scary movies where like the woman's in the shower. Like imagine being in your shower and then suddenly there's people that shouldn't be in your bathroom. Okay. It's
Or
like,
imagine being a VR player and having your headset on and being in your room playing VR. You're not going to see them come in, hear them come in, right? Like,
Oh,
there's so
God.
many
Right?
distractions.
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a wild example, but imagine if that happened.
But
That's when you hope the agent just slowly closes the door and exits.
yeah, but who doesn't VR? People VR all the time. Like it's
Yeah.
people. You go into some of these houses, if they're tenanted, people are gaming or they're
High distraction
VR.
world.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
High
it's-
distraction
And
world.
okay, so think about like from the other agent's perspective, like imagine you're walking down a hallway and you like hear a shower on and you're showing people. I
Okay,
would be-
we're gonna get into that because it's horrific. It's the worst. Before we go there, have you ever had a scenario in your workplace where you like show like so on that note, like when you show up to people's houses and did they forget you're there, or like they don't know you're coming, or you open up a door and you're like blah, like or like
Yeah, so we had one like recently that was my scheduling error. So we had a shoot in the calendar and they had sent an email to reschedule it. I said, yep, no problem. And I forgot to move it in the calendar. And so Adrian, who works with us, I sent him off to the shoot in the morning. And then he texted me and he was like, this lady had no idea I was coming today. She's like very surprised.
oh
And I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
And so I knew that was my error. So yeah, we've had that. And then we've had, sometimes I think the agents miscommunicate like when we're going to show up or be there.
Right.
And so we show up and we're like, hey, we're scheduled for 10 o'clock today. And people are like, I thought that was tomorrow. Or I thought we had a few more hours to clean up. So like that's happened a handful of times as well. But probably my worst one was early on in my business. And I got a text from the listing agent and she was like, hey, I'm running behind. You can start shooting the outside until I get there. There's a car broken down in the driveway. It's not going to move. The dog is going to lose its mind when it sees you on the property. And
Lovely.
Great.
yeah, so I show up and I start shooting outside. I'm like, well, I'll start with like flying the drone. So I did a quick walk around the property, broken down car in the driveway. Dog is losing its mind.
Dogs love drones.
And
Always. Yeah.
and like everything kind of lined up. But what I had done was it was in Aldergrove. So I was at the right address, but on like B Avenue. And the actual shoot was on A Avenue.
Oh.
But all of the markers she gave me just all lined up.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
So I started shooting the outside of the house. I didn't go in the house, thankfully, but I'm flying the drone and a neighbor comes out and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, your neighbors are going up for sale here. And I'm like pointing to the house. So I'm just flying the drone and doing some
Yeah.
media. The agent's going to be here like any minute. And he goes, these people?
Because they know everyone. They're there on
Yeah.
the street.
And I'm like, yeah. Like, and then, so the drone's in the air. I'm like, look at the address, but I only look at like the front numbers.
Yeah.
Oh my
And I'm
Like,
like,
I'm here.
I'm like, yeah, this is the one. And like, and that happens quite
oh yeah.
like all the time. People don't tell their neighbors they're
Yes.
Oh,
listing or whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy just kind of goes, huh. And he like goes back down his driveway. And I was like, I've never had a reaction like that before. So I pull out my phone one more time and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm at the wrong house.
Wow.
And as I'm looking at that, the agent texts like, where are you?
Right.
And I'm like,
Oh,
oh
no.
my gosh. So I was like,
You're like, I'm
one
just getting
block
footage of the
over.
neighborhood.
I was mortified.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I like ran back and no one was at home. So I ran back. I did that shoot and then I ended up going back to the house. No one was home again, so I left them a letter.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, and
Hey,
my
sorry.
card.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
100%.
So I was like, just so you know, I actually
Yeah.
this is what happened. I deleted all the footage, but like
But if you're looking to buy or sell,
yeah. That was the
Wow.
worst one because it was like,
Like,
full
How many broken down cars you're
Wrong
in?
trash car, wrong
Yeah,
barky
right?
dog.
Like,
Yeah.
What neighborhood
Oh.
were you in? Like,
But I know what you mean though, because all the markers make sense. Like there's
Yeah.
a gray car in the front of the house. There's a
everything
gray car in front of
lined
the
up.
house.
Everything
Yeah.
lined up.
And
Yeah.
like the address, it's right there.
And the
Yep,
address
house
was the
numbers
same,
match.
but it was like 26B versus 26A.
I never thought about that. Like the fact
No.
that you have to contend with shooting the right house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fun. All right. I love that.
We
Okay.
recently had 2 listings that were like a block away from each other
Oh.
with similar addresses.
It was like a
I
nightmare.
was always nervous that I was going to confirm the wrong showing or something.
Me too.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
right,
gosh.
right.
Me too.
I don't know. She confirms them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go a different direction. So Matt has kind of a crazy story regarding unexpected visitors. This is what inspired this podcast because every once in a while, and being a realtor for 10 plus years, not that much stuff shocks you anymore, but some stuff really shocks you. So I was like, Matt, like, you have to come on and tell your story. So Matt, you had a client and they messaged you and just take it away.
Yeah, so I had, well, thank you for wanting to share the story because it was pretty,
Crazy.
nothing bugs me much, like, because I know there's the odd story that you get where you just, you don't tell many people, but this one I told people and it was like, after I said it, it just gained so much momentum.
Yeah.
And I know before, like, I've had my listings go live on the MLS and I've had somebody call and be like, hey, is your listing for sale or is it for rent? And I'm like, well, it's for sale.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm looking on Craigslist and I see all the pictures for it to be rented. And it's like, okay, someone just went on, sold the pictures. Sometimes like in between the purchase and closing, the buyer will be wanting to rent it and they'll say, hey, can we use your photos? We want to rent it out before closing day, which is totally cool, whatever. So in this particular instance though, I won't say the area, but my client, we had his beautiful place on the market listed, and he's in the film industry, so he's a stuntman. So similar like crazy hours like is what you're used to dealing with client wise. So marketplace is big for scamming people right now. And what happened was somebody went on marketplace looking for a rental. They found a rental. They reached out to the poster or whatever, and the poster was like, yep, no problem, just give me your damage deposit and the keys. Are like, we've got huge demand. Like, they pumped up the story, like huge demand on the property.
Secure it now.
Exactly. Get it today, you can have keys next week, blah blah blah. So I guess this would be, victim ended up going through with the Facebook post or the marketplace ad, paid a deposit to get the said keys.
That's your
Yeah.
first mistake.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they claimed that it was a company like a joint venture company that was dealing with rentals, and they were out of Alberta. They had a great spiel. They had a great, like, because I'm getting this information after the fact from my client, because I'll get into that story of how I know all this. But it was like a good story. It was a good write-up. Everything was hooking the person. And if you have enough people out there that are looking for a rental, someone will bite on a scam.
Well, housing is in such crazy demand. When we had our basement suite for rent, we had, and it's like, it's really sad because it's not like a couple that's looking, it's like families of 5 looking for like a 2-bedroom. Like the housing is so short.
Yeah.
So when rentals do come available, people will do like anything to secure them basically. But there's the odd person that will forward the money without doing their due diligence, without doing their homework. And they should know, like, no, that's not okay, but it happens, right?
Yeah.
I think people get desperate. Like I
Yes.
see like
Oh, yeah.
probably once a week I
Yeah.
see a post on social media that's like,
Yeah.
I lost my rental.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been looking for months.
Need something
I
ASAP.
haven't found anything.
Yeah.
I need any help I can get.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
Who do
think
you know?
when you're in
Share.
that desperation mode, like if something pops up, you might be willing to be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Hail Mary.
here's my
Yeah.
damage deposit.
Yeah, yeah, and it was,
Right?
in this case it was 2 G's. Like, it's not like
Oh my
it's a
gosh.
good chunk of change. Like, that's not just
Yikes.
everyday money.
No.
So, So this person, I guess, fell on this path of destruction and went and paid the 2 Gs. And the person's like, okay, you're all good to go. Just go to the building. We'll have a representative there to let you in, or it'll be unlocked. Like, no big deal. But didn't thinking the person would get that far.
Yeah.
Because this was a condo building. So how are you going to get through the front door? Because that was the next question that was never asked, right?
Yeah.
So somehow this person, I guess, got to the lobby. Someone was either coming in passing. I don't quite know that side of the story. But they got into the building.
Which is a problem in itself.
Right, it's
we won't
there.
go there, but that is a
there.
problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It made their way upstairs, and my client too. Like, that's why I'm not saying location. He doesn't lock his door. Like, he's like one of the most loosest clients ever. Like,
Is he from the prairies?
He's not. He's a stuntman, and he lives in the most safest place ever. And he's jacked. Like, not jacked, but he's a stuntman.
So he'll just toss
He
them out
felt
the
very
window.
secure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He'll slam them over
Tuck
the
and
kitchen
roll.
island. Yeah.
Well, Buddy came in expecting Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, and he got Deadpool's stuntman. Like, that's how it was. Like, it was not
Love.
like it was. Yeah. So of course he goes up, gets the address because the unit's posted online, so they know the exact address. They know they're using the exact photos, their floor plan, like all of our marketing material.
Wow.
So he goes up. He knows the unit number. He knows everything because he's paid a deposit, and of course he opens the door and it's open because my guy just leaves it unlocked.
Rule number 1, lock your door. Go on.
Oh, I know. And even like when he's like not there, it's like the same thing. I'm like, dude, you gotta just lock the door, man. So he's lying on the couch having a nap because he's in between flicks.
He was home.
Yeah, he was in between. He was lying on the couch. I think he said he was shirtless because he was just cooling off, having, just relaxing, right? Like he was after, I don't know, night
He
filming.
was safe.
He
in
was
his
chilling.
own
He was
home.
Exactly.
having a nap.
Relaxing.
They had to like get past the gate, the guard, like whatever at the front there, right? Like the key fob access.
Oh, yeah.
And no one ever knocks on his door. Like he's like at the end of the hallway. Like it's totally you're there to see like the unit or
Like, who would walk past that door? He's the
Exactly.
last one.
Exactly. So he hears the rustling because the guy opens the door and like checking out the hall closet. Like, okay, I got to put stuff here. The bathroom's there. Like he's checking things out. So he's walked in. Somebody off of Facebook Marketplace, and my guy like hears rustling and he opens his eye to see somebody in the house. So then he gets up quietly as Buddy is in the washroom because you walk in the front door, the washroom's to the right. Like he's checking things out. And
So he went into fight
Nobody
mode.
calls out.
Strategic fight
Hello?
mode. He's like, I'm going to get this guy.
I'm handling it myself. Exactly.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So he's like at the island, and then as soon as Buddy comes out of the washroom, he goes up, grabs him by the neck, throws him against the wall.
Oh no!
Yeah. And he's like, what the? Can we
Yeah.
swear?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing in my house? And he's like, bro, I'm so sorry. I paid for a deposit. Like, what's going on here? Like, I paid, like, I'm a renter. Like, I'm renting your place. Like, I'm renting this place. I just paid a deposit. Like, he's going off about all the reasons why he should be there.
Oh no!
And he's listening.
He's like, "Who's this other tenant that's loitering here?"
Whoa,
He's lucky he didn't die.
I honest to God, when my
Like,
client,
actually.
Yeah.
when he called me, he was like, still, you could feel the blood pumping. Like, he
Oh,
was
yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
jacked
This
up.
is Canada.
Oh.
In Texas, he would be dead.
100% dead.
100%.
Dead on, you'd be dead in the lobby. Like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
always getting to the lobby.
You're not getting in the lobby.
No, so
Yeah.
he's like, he's asking this guy, like, what the hell are you doing in my house? He's
Yeah.
questioning right away, and he's like being assertive with questions.
Of course.
And he's like, because he told me he's a very articulate individual, and he's like, Matt, he was answering all the questions like right.
Yeah, of course.
So
No
he was
delay.
a victim.
Yeah.
He was a victim, and I'm like, that's true. I go, but I said you got to kind of keep your senses heightened because he could have also had a plot, right?
Yeah.
You don't know this, but so he was like, yeah, bro, like I'm so sorry. Like here's the ad. Like he's showing the ad. He's like, here's the deposit. He's like, I'm showing you everything. Like I legit got scammed. I got scammed. They took $2,000 of me. Like I'm supposed to be renting your place.
Oh.
And he's like, it showed as online as a Facebook Marketplace ad, like for a rental.
Yeah.
Are they
And-
friends now?
I don't think so.
Oh.
but
I was hoping
What a
for-
cool story. But anyways, go on.
but it's crazy to think like our pictures get exploited in any like realm.
Yeah.
And it was just this luck where the door was unlocked. If the door's not unlocked, he's knocking, he's mad, he gets on his phone, he calls whoever, he goes on Facebook, maybe he sits at the door until somebody comes back 2 hours later.
Yeah.
But in this case, the door's unlocked. And
The
he
scammers already
made
have his
entry.
money. They don't
He's
care.
lucky he
Yeah.
didn't die, actually.
Honestly,
Like-
even that's what he said. He goes, he's lucky I didn't throw the first, like I didn't throw a punch.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
grabbed him by the scruff and like threw him against the wall. And it was like question and like interrogated.
Yeah.
And he's got his shirt like he's chilling like Eminem on the couch right now. Like he's not, he's not like in a Sunday suit. Like he is legit hanging out. And it was a wild story. And then to top it off, so he told me this story, and I'm like, holy cow! Like I've never had this happen. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I can't even complain to anyone because who do I complain to?
Yeah.
So I'm looking on Marketplace. The ad's already been taken down.
Oh.
And he showed the guy the ad, and then, of course, it must have got flagged or something.
Yeah.
And then I had somebody else, like 2 days later, call me to be like, hey, are you selling this unit?
Yes.
Or are you...
I've had those calls where it's
Yes.
like people verifying if it's for sale and if it's been sold, because sometimes people do legitimately rent them.
Yeah.
Right.
And they take your pictures and whatever. I don't really mind that if a a buyer asks permission, especially if they're going to be renting it out.
Totally, because you want to help them out, give
It
them...
happens.
Yeah, and it could be a 2-month closing. You can
100%.
find people in no time, right?
Yeah, but there's so many people that are scamming right now. Like my car's for sale. The amount of scams that we get messaged is it's every day.
Your pictures of your car probably being on another ad exploiting
totally.
somebody for a deposit.
Yes, everyone's like, oh, I need this report. Click on this link to get me the report. It's like, I'm not going to click on any link. to get
Never click the link.
Like,
Yeah.
this is not my first name.
This isn't bear share.
But I was like, hey, good for you on looking up the property address and then
Yeah.
seeing it's for sale.
Checking.
And then calling me, right? Like,
Yeah.
because that would be, I mean, that's the other thing too, is you got to do your due diligence for these situations if it sounds too good to be true.
I just feel so bad for everyone. Like, there's no winners in that situation. You got big question. Does he lock his door now?
No comment. No
all right.
comment.
Oh,
No comment.
Oh,
No
no.
comment. I can't
So,
say names or
Imagine
no
if
comment.
that's a female, just because you had a big burly man who was shirtless, like ripped, ready to go. Like, that's like a Jack Reacher, whatever plot. Anyway.
Could be a dream. Could
Yeah,
be someone's dream.
Yeah. So imagine that's a female.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Like at home
Yeah.
and there's some dude in her bathroom or like in her kitchen and like she wakes up. Like I don't think she's grabbing him by the scruff.
No.
Depending on the female, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
But like that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like,
and
she-
some people won't lock their door if they're in a building that's secured at the downstairs lobby,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And there's so many layers of protection sometimes. So you've got your front door. You're not supposed to let people in that you don't know behind you.
Yeah.
Then some buildings have a scan for key fob on the floor. But again, if someone else is going to that floor, it's not foolproof.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like, please just lock your door, you know? So maybe most people would lock their doors. So this was like a lot of things had to go wrong in order for that to occur.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
everything just lined up perfectly.
Oh, man.
And this was the result. And I was like, it was a first for me because I've only ever had people say, hey, I saw your ad for sale or for rent. Is it legit? And it's like, no, that's not legit. Like, report it. It's fake.
Yeah.
But this actually went to that extreme. And it was pretty crazy that nothing happened or somebody got hurt. 'Cause
Yikes.
It could have gone sideways pretty quick.
Yeah.
That is wild.
He's lucky he didn't die, actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like he's like, Matt, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm pretty jacked up right now. I'm like, I'm jacked
Yeah.
up just hearing about this. Like, this
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah, that is a
Like-
valid response.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, here I'm sitting. I'm like, I can't even complain to anyone. Like,
Yeah.
you can't.
No, there's nothing
There's
to
no
do.
the board or no one's gonna help you, right?
No.
So
Yeah, and did
So,
he
yeah.
at any point get police involved, or was it just
no, he was just.
got
I
him out the
said, I'm like, we
door
could
and-
do this if you really want. I'm like, obviously apologize. He's like, I apologize profusely to the guy after the fact that he lost his money.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's like, but he goes, I showed him the listing. I showed him it's still for sale. Like he did everything like to show,
Yeah.
excuse me, that it was like,
He wasn't the
Can
scammer.
you buy
Exactly.
it?
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah. Can
like
you
it was,
qualify for a
Yeah, can
mortgage?
you
Yeah.
qualify?
Yeah.
yeah, well, about $400,000 and $80,000
Yeah.
short from the $2,000 I just gave you. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so he made sure that the ducks were crossed that way. But still, like it's something I've never dealt with before in my career, and it was pretty crazy because if it was somebody else in there unlocked, like there's stories, just recently, right? It could be,
Not good.
not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up buying a car that I thought was a scam, but it was legitimate. Like it had only a few bad photos in it, and it was a really good price, and the description didn't match the photos. I was like, "There's no way this is legit." It was just someone helping sell their grandpa's car. So they said it was one color, but it wasn't, and they didn't have a lot of information, and it was legit. It was a great car. So on the flip flop.
So Sheila and I, we had our neighbor across the street. English isn't their first language. Lovely people, like dream neighbors. And they were renting out their basement suite, and they had somebody apply, and they said, "Hey, my landlord's house is for sale." And I said, "Okay, well, what's the address? I'll run it." Because we can look it up online.
Pretty easily, yeah.
I'm using language that is gonna like I'm saying, like run an address. It's not like the way
Yeah.
the police do it.
No, we didn't do it on the back end. It was
No,
Google.
no.
Yeah.
We did it through Paragon. So when I'm saying
Yeah.
run an address, I'm not saying like run it-
MLS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
MLS,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
crime. So anyway, we like get in there and we end up we looked at a virtual tour, we looked at who was on title,
Yeah.
and the person who said that they lived in the house, they're like, oh, or they were like, my landlord's selling the house. We looked at the tenant agreement, and it wasn't actually a tenant of the house.
Yeah, they're like, here's my reference. It's my old landlord, and here's why I have to move. And it was all
Yeah, the
like,
landlord name did not match the title name,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
like so
No
we
way.
informed the neighbor, and like my neighbor, she's so sweet, she cried because she's like they think we're dumb because we like English isn't our first language, and like she was so upset that this person basically lied, and like
Yeah.
so I just said, hey, look, like you don't have to rent to them, but it was like an exercise, and we do have access to some information as realtors,
just like a surface level screening.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're ever looking for, like, here's a public service announcement. If you're ever looking at a home or anything like that could be for sale, or you're looking at photos, it's okay to contact that realtor. Because if you Google an address, the last listing agent generally pops up. I've had phone calls from tenants being like, hey, is the landlord actually renting it? And then I can verify just to make sure that these people aren't getting ripped off.
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's so many scams out
Yep.
there. And I remember the amount of, gosh, it was really sad. We had to shut it off. But when we had our basement for rent, we put it up on the open market, like, 3 days, and you have 75 people
Yeah.
who's trying to rent your place.
Yeah.
And there's 75
Daunting.
people who are trying to live somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's so sad. Right. And so I understand the desperation, and
Yeah.
the guy's lucky he didn't get pounded.
Yeah. Oh, it could have
Yeah.
gone way worse. It could have gone way worse.
Or like, or your friend, like, lucky nothing happened to him, because like
Yeah.
it's a two-way street
Yeah.
there. It's
Yeah.
nice that he
Yeah.
was a buff guy, but like imagine it being like your wife, your daughter, your kid, you're like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or even like because I've played it a few times, and it's like, even if he was like, he was there, he left his door unlocked, but he wasn't, say he was, not a buff guy, but not the physique or not intimidating, and he was like, hey man, like, what are you doing in my house? Well, now the ball gets slipped back to the person to be like, well, what the fuck, you took my
Yeah.
$2,000,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
Right.
he gets aggressive.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
But then the other guy can't defend himself because
Yeah.
he's not of that stature. Whereas, like, luckily my client was able to, like, defend himself
was
right
in
off
the
the
seat,
get go.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything was like very crazy. If the things had to line up perfectly for this to happen and be here today. But yeah,
But
it's
it did.
pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
wild. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I really
no.
appreciate it. I can't imagine that being on behalf of the guy that was scammed. Unfortunately, like, a lot of our podcast has to do with, like the 1% of, actually every single podcast we have is like the 1% of things that could go wrong.
Mhm.
It's like we talked about that in our last one with like that completion that didn't occur. If anyone listened to that episode, it's like the worst case scenario basically for a realtor. I, for one, I don't know about you guys, but I hate it. Like, it's my biggest fear when I go into a property that is supposed to be vacant, and then there's, or like any property, to be honest with you, and the doors are shut.
All of them.
Yes.
Oh,
I hate going into a house, and it's like a house, and it's like ready for showing, and there with my clients, and I've got to open up the doors, whether it's like the bedroom doors or the bathroom doors or the closet. Why are the
Yep.
doors closed,
You feel
Jeremy?
like you're at the scare
I hate-
factory on Halloween.
I don't.
Yeah, I
100%.
hate
It's
it.
that like walking into a haunted house feel, even though
Yeah.
it's like 30 degrees and sunshine out, and you're with
Mhm.
people. And I remember
Yeah.
very distinctly, I was with it was a police officer client, and we were in a really dark basement in Chilliwack, and there were these two doors down this hallway, and it was so dark, and there was like not a lot of lighting, and I just said to him, I said, just so you know, I'm hesitating. It's not the house. It's not you. I have a fear of opening closed doors. And he was like, that's okay. I'll do it for you. And I was like, oh, thanks. But I thought,
yeah.
but I like, sometimes you have to be the brave one in this
Yeah.
situation and just
Yeah.
like chill and like open that door. But I hate it.
Yeah.
For the record, nothing bad has ever happened to me when I opened a door. I don't know where it comes from, but I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I've been
Right?
through houses, and
Mhm.
even if the client's like, yeah, house is totally empty, it's all yours, go do your thing, start shooting it. If there's closed doors, I am like the agent will sometimes just sit outside in their car and
Totally.
let me loose in it.
Yeah.
And if there's a closed door that I know I'm like, okay, this is for sure a bedroom, I hate opening it.
Yeah.
And I knock super loud and I go, hello?
Yeah.
I'm coming in now. And I knock again and I slowly creak it open.
What
Sheila-
else is weird?
Sheila did that the other day. Vacant condo.
Vacant condo.
Yeah.
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 Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please don't answer back.
Our
Habitual.
client was like, well, it's vacant, right? And I'm like, it is, but I'm still checking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
in case.
Just in case.
And your client was probably pumped. He's probably like, clear on your 6, like, let's go. Like, you know?
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
Yeah. Checking
Let's
the
clear
rooms.
it together. Like,
yeah.
In addition to closed doors, like going through houses and then one door being locked with a sign like "Do not open," and I'm like,
what's in there?
"This is part of the house, man." Like,
Oh, I'm always like, your house is for sale. Everything's fair game.
yeah,
We're
and
opening it.
no, the sellers were home and the selling agent was home, and he's like, "You cannot open this one door," and I'm like, "Okay." And then my clients were up there, and I'm like, "Hey, we can't open this door." He's like, "Okay, I won't buy this house then."
Mm-hmm.
And then we were done. We were done with the showing.
Yeah.
He's like, "No feelings, out."
Fair enough. It's different if they have a reason for it.
Yeah.
But if they're just like, yeah, don't open it.
Yeah.
If they're like, yeah, we breed dogs and there's 57 dogs in there.
I'm like,
Then
"Puppies."
you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Right? Like if there's a
Going
reason.
in, yeah.
Yeah. If
Breaks
there-
down the window.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like if there's a reason though, you're like, okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. But
Have
Yeah.
you guys ever walked in on somebody? Like I had a situation where a house was supposed to be vacant, and I was like hello, and I like opened up the door because you always call out. Like I always tend to call out, being like, hi, like I'm here for your showing. We're here a minute early.
Yeah.
Like whatever. And I once had that where I looked down a staircase and there was a mattress. So it obviously was like kind of occupied, and then I was freaked out, being like, is someone in here?
right.
Have you ever opened up the door on somebody?
No.
Oh, that's
I
good.
have.
That's you have.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well, the door was open actually already, and
Oh.
it was like a condo with a loft, and the adult daughter was home, and nobody knew. So, and I was there with the agent. So we're in there, and I'm like shooting, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go check out the loft, and I like go upstairs, and there was a door that was open, so I
Yeah.
just pulled the door open, and all of a sudden, the covers on the bed all rolled
Oh,
off
yeah.
the bed.
That's not for me. That's not for me.
Rolled off the bed, and then the covers stood up and ran past me down the stairs. I was like, "What the?" What? I'm like, and I'm
Like
like
a
calling
Poltergeist
the
movie.
yeah, I'm like calling the agent's name. I'm like, they're
Oh my god.
Say, the
yeah.
blankets are coming.
yeah, just this blanket, this like duvet cover runs down the stairs and like runs outside, and you're like, I don't
Why
know.
would
I don't
would
know
that
what
be
to
the
do.
reaction?
Things you see.
Oh, hey, I just need a minute.
Matt, have you ever opened up a door? Like, have you ever? Because does that ever happen to you? You get the EBGBs, like you're opening up the door and you're like, "Hey, are you home?" Like,
No, I'm pretty good because I'll do the open the door, are you home? Like we're here to show the home. But like a lot of the places I've been seeing lately have been separation sales. So someone
yeah.
stays there.
yeah,
And the house isn't always in its best and finest use.
of course.
And it's like, someone's visiting from out of town, of course. It's not always. And they're in the bed downstairs. Nobody gets out of the bed. So you like make your way downstairs. The people that are at the front door letting you in forget to tell you someone's in the bed downstairs. And they're, just lying there.
Matt, you're a
on one
really charming
occasion.
guy. Do you go down there and you're like, "Hey, man, how's it going? Oh, hard times."
Yeah, no, it'll be like we're just passing through. Don't mind us,
Yeah,
like
of course.
just being,
Stay
casual.
cozy, friend.
Yeah, like
don't move, don't move.
Yeah, like
don't
I've had
move.
some story. I've heard of some stories where agents have walked in and the tenants were there, and they open the door and the tenants are in there, shacking up
Oh yeah.
with
yeah.
somebody or whatever, and it's like they didn't realize there was a showing. But I've never had that happen to me. But on like one prior showing, it was like nothing was presentable.
Yeah.
The animals, like you say, have the pee blankets all over the place,
Yeah.
and the litter box is full, and it's like,
It was quite a smell.
do you want to sell the house or not, right?
They don't.
So, but there's always that surprise visitor that's
Yeah.
downstairs, has
Yeah.
no idea you were supposed to be here, like,
Yeah.
So this episode is all about surprise, basically. And it could be a scam surprise. It could be like a miscommunication, very, very innocent. It could be a surprise where it's like, oh, I knew and I shouldn't have gone. Surprise.
Yeah.
Like, but in either case, obviously, whenever there are humans involved in anything, there can be room for error. And in Matt's situation, like he's sharing a story where there's human error. There is judgment calls that weren't done. Everyone got really lucky in that situation. Like, Jeremy just, accidentally wrong house, nothing he could do. Sheila, like we go into homes where sometimes you hope no one's in there and no one has been in there. And then there's me who I've been like, why is there people in here? Like it's crazy. But anytime you've got human intervention, when there is a chain of command or communication, something could go wrong. So when you are a seller, you make sure you do not let anybody in your house that is not authorized to be there. Lock your frickin' door, right?
Yeah.
And make sure you run your addresses, double check where you're supposed to be, and call out so that you're not scaring anybody. And for the love of all things holy, if I'm showing your home, make sure the doors are open.
Yeah. You have an open door policy for showing.
Yeah, open doors.
Yeah.
That's everything. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Cheers. Yes.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Spilling the Tea, a real estate podcast with Kristy Massero and Shelagh Maycheck.